planning board meeting for today, March 11th, 2019.
4:31.
March 11th, 2000. Starting off, we have any bills to approve?
No.
No. All right, let's see, we have some minutes I know to approve. Minutes from Tuesday, February 19th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there, okay.
Tuesday, February 19th, 2019, as written.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No? Okay, I'm gonna abstain from voting on it.
No, I think we had everybody.
Actually, no, then we have to wait for Jim
Actually-
for approval.
Yeah, actually, Glenn, you need to abstain, right?
Yep.
And I need to abstain because I wasn't.
You
there.
weren't there, so, right, so actually
So
gotta wait
we'll
for Jim.
We'll let the motion just sit.
Sit till. And we have minutes from our Monday, February 25th meeting.
And Rob, you need to abstain from that one.
I'll make a motion to approve the February 25th, 2019 minutes
I'll second.
as written.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Approved. And then we have planning board minutes from Monday, March 4th, 2019. So a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Anybody abstain?
Abstain.
Okay. Correspondence.
Now, do you want to do those letters now?
We can. We have time, why not?
Which one do you want to start with?
We can start with, let's see who's on first here. Lamro Landscaping, it's on top here.
Now, what I did was I took the second paragraph was from the one we sent back in 2018, and I just added the third paragraph.
Actually, it was 2017, wasn't it?
Okay, yep, 17,
Yeah.
yep. Rob and Bill, do you know where the location we're talking about?
I do.
Was that a no over letter? Over by where the Five Corners is, you're coming this way, over on the left, there's, like mounds of chopped up trees and that sort of stuff, and that's what we're talking
Okay,
about, that area there.
so he's operating a landscaping business?
Yes, he actually has an office back right by the pizza place in town, you know, just a little farther back.
Okay.
from there. Try not to poke you.
That's okay.
And, but he has all of the mounds of whatever.
Mulch and,
Mulching and
okay,
chips.
so, yeah.
Anybody see any issues with the letter?
I do not. I'll make a motion to sign.
Well, since Jim's name is on here to sign, you wanna wait for him to come in?
Okay.
To do the motion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How come your name isn't on here?
I don't know.
It wasn't on the last one, and I think it wasn't on the last one because you were being the code enforcement officer then?
That's right, that time I was.
Yeah.
I wasn't, the actual select board was being the code
Right.
enforcement officer.
I-
Because we didn't have one at the time, but This is new.
I just have a procedural question.
Okay.
Since I was not at the May 22nd, 2017 meeting, should I sign?
It goes from me
I
too.
think you can sign, sure.
Okay.
It's a matter of current.
Okay,
Right, because this, I mean, it's the same thing I think I can sign, because this is the current
Right,
notice is being
so I
sent.
should add your name to it?
Yes,
Okay.
because this is dated, it's dated March 11th. This is the current one that's being sent to them,
That would
so,
be, that would happen on both of them then.
yeah.
okay, so then we'll have to wait for Jim on this.
You want to wait on both then?
Yeah, I think we're gonna end up changing them both.
Because we have that
Anyway,
latest piece over there for the Berry Hill.
yes. And as well, you may be adding Glenn's name to the other,
Yes, I would.
yeah. Okay.
Well, we can sign the Granby Solar.
I'm
I
sorry.
have the Granby Solar, Dickinson's,
Oh,
I have the one here for everybody to sign, as long as everybody's okay with it. Here's your copy too. Fun. You got yours there, or you need one, Bill?
Sure.
Bill, as I read through this, didn't we say we were gonna make some nondescript mention about, fence height? Regarding, regarding complying with, because we only allow 6-foot fences, maximum
I
height.
think that came up for the Kendall Street project.
Was it Kendall Street?
Yeah, we were discussing that for Kendall for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I know it came from Kendall.
I remember I asked about it at the last meeting we were at, and I think we thought it was the Kendall.
Or we voted to waive that requirement,
Right, that's Kendall.
okay?
Right, but I thought we were, because we, I believe that this one called for a 6-foot high fence, and we had discussed this one being the, Granby Solar LLC. I thought that we were just gonna put in some kind of nondescript thing that, fencing must comply with,
I don't recall that.
the electric code, or however that's all worded.
What height is the fence that they're proposing?
I believe it was 6 foot. We didn't find out about the 7-foot fence until Borrego
Right,
presented. So,
and they're actually 7.5 feet high above the ground with a half-foot lot
correct.
length.
Right.
And we were, our reasoning was that way they don't have to come back just to meet Granby Solar doesn't have to come back just to meet a
Okay,
code that's enforced by another entity
Where are they putting the fence?
around the solar panels.
Which is being covered, so to speak, by the trees that they're planting.
Right, as well as around the whole solar farm array.
Right. It's gotta be, it has to be fenced in. So I think the requirement that we found out, it has to be 7 feet high,
Right,
which, when we talk about the 6-inch clearance on the bottom for animals to get through and stuff like that.
Well, we would
About
have
7.5
done
feet.
that not too long ago.
well, we would have approved it based on the old approval,
Right. Oh,
the old decision.
but in the old decision, we didn't have anything in there about that.
No, because we were not enlightened of that code until Borrego came in with regards to the Kendall Street property.
So they've only been in here a couple of times since then, so we would have had to, that would have had to have been in the minutes then.
I don't believe it was ever mentioned while they were here, while Granby Solar was here for their amended,
Oh, which is
Plan.
probably why I don't remember.
yeah. I'm,
The plan calls for 7-foot fence
from,
for Dickinson Farm.
oh,
I'm looking at it here.
perfect, then I
For Granby
stand
Solar
corrected.
Dickinson's.
Yes,
So-
that's what it shows on the plan, 7 foot.
Okay,
Okay,
I stand corrected.
okay.
Well, maybe,
I wonder if they changed that for this one,
yeah, I think they might have.
because I don't
I don't know
think,
if the law, maybe the law changed or code changed since they were originally approved.
well, it could have,
Could have changed in between.
right, back when Kearsarge
That's just the thing.
Right.
So,
did it.
Did so.
Because at Kearsarge, if you remember, they wanted to have the 6-foot fence right on the front property line, and Granby's bylaw says that
Had to be back.
had to be back 40 feet from the front property
Right.
line.
Yeah.
I wasn't here
Yeah,
then.
no, but that's, when you go up, that's why you see the fence all the way, it's pushed back.
So are we going to sign this?
No, I stand corrected. Bill has enlightened me.
So it's okay the way it is?
Yep.
Are we signing? Jim is definitely coming, right?
As far as I know, he is coming,
I mean,
yes.
we can wait to sign this when he's here in case he's got any questions.
Sounds like a good idea.
You need 4 votes, or 4 signatures, right? But can Rob vote?
Yeah, Rob was here, Rob was
Well,
part
he
of
wasn't
the,
here for the first one, but he was here for the,
We allow, Rob is
Okay.
allowed to vote
yeah.
Okay.
for
Ridiculous.
this decision.
right.
Okay, great.
Because
Okay.
this wasn't, we weren't, this is a modification, so he was voting on the
So
modification.
then,
after the
right, you have
plan.
4 members,
Yeah.
you know, you can sign it now if you
So,
want.
You still want to wait for Jim, or what do you want to do?
we can sign it now.
Okay.
We'd have to take it to a vote and sign it. It's fine. Just that way in case Jim doesn't, for some reason Jim doesn't make
So,
it.
we need a vote? We voted to approve it, we don't need a vote to sign it, do
I
we?
think just vote to sign the decision, yeah.
Yep.
Where's the date? There it is. Okay, Mr. Ball, you want to be the first one to sign?
Sure.
But we don't need don't we need a vote to sign it?
I would say, motion would be in order.
Yeah, we should have a motion to sign it.
I'll make a motion that we, as the planning board, we sign the decision for Granby Solar LLC.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Well, we're buzzing along. It's not even quarter up.
See that?
Jim did know our new plan,
I
right?
just texted.
Yeah.
Oh, did you? Maybe you can't get away with it.
Well, like I said, it could be. And Jim was one of the ones that mentioned it's okay moving the time back, but sometimes
Yep.
he may not be able
He
to.
may not have even picked it up in that email from Kathy.
Could be.
Oh, well, the one I sent has it in big bold letters and numbers.
Oh, we're supposed to read
Yes,
everything?
you are.
If not, there will be consequences.
Yes, there will.
I'm glad Jim has to face them.
So I'll get this to Catherine then when I get her back to Heath. He responds.
The answer is yes. Are you on your way?
Okay. So we can do
Okay. So we have 2 new letters to code enforcement officer, right? So these are correct? You're doing 2 new letters for, okay. Well, there we go. Anything else we need to discuss? We have till 5 o'clock.
Well, I don't know if you want to get into the bylaws right now. We have all the others that we did, not the solar one. We have all
Okay.
the final package. Do you want to at least look at that, or what is it you would like to do?
Well, we can, but again, Jim isn't here, so.
And I will warn you, if you take the clip,
You'll pull them apart? Yeah. So, don't take the clip off.
Don't do it, Bob.
they kind of go
I'm
in
gonna do it. I wanna see what happens.
Can you see what happened?
Okay, so the first thing we have,
When you want to have the public hearing, do the schedule.
yes.
That's true. Is it section 81Q?
That is for the subdivision control law.
That has to be in the public hearing notice
Okay,
because of the sidewalk.
all right.
ADA,
Yeah, if you are
and-
combining the zoning and the subdivision amendments in one notice, then yes, you could leave 81Q in as well.
Okay. What do you want to do it, I mean, like a regular scheduled meeting?
Well, let me get my, here we go. Sheet with the numbers. Okay, so the way we're thinking is this packet that you have goes to the select board by Wednesday. Okay? And our first public hearing notice, the date of the public hearing will be the 22nd. But the first notice goes out April 5, the second April 12, then we have April 22nd. So that could be filled in on the public hearing. April
April
22nd.
22nd?
Yes,
So I won't be here for the public hearing.
okay.
I'll be away.
Hello, Jim.
Hello, Jim.
So, but that's okay.
That's okay, it's just a public hearing.
Jim, will you be here on April, hi. Will you be here on April 22nd for a public hearing for all of our other bylaws that we're getting through?
As far as I know right now, yes.
Right now, yes? Because Glenn said he won't be here, so we'll need a leader. Do you want to do 5:30 or do you want to do 6? What time?
I'd rather do 5:30.
5:30.
5:30?
I'm good with that.
I don't know.
You don't care.
Okay, so Jim, what we're doing is
5:30
is we're
works.
going through this packet that you have put there, and the first thing is the public hearing date. This is for just all the bylaws except for the, obvious one, except for the solar. This is everything else.
So,
That's this one here, the legal notice?
Yes, so we chose April 22nd, actually it went with the sequence that we have here, so April 22nd at 5:30. Okay,
where's it gonna be?
here,
Here?
yes.
Do you have the legal notice ready to go, or do you need some
Do I have the
help
what?
with that? Do you have the legal notice ready to go?
Yes, I think that's in the packet here, if I know what you're talking about.
Oh,
You're
I
talking
see.
about the next one in line there?
Okay, I see it right on
Okay.
the cover page.
Okay, so the next one in line, next sheet after that, in that packet, is the legal notice. And it says what we're gonna be doing, okay? But this is for the, there's some question marks in there.
Yes.
because the select board has to put in the article number and all that sort of stuff that we don't have. So I can fill in the public hearing. And supposedly the town meeting is gonna be the 13th, my anniversary, in case anybody cares.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. And we don't know the article numbers, so that's something Kathy will fill in. But this explains each change and what we're doing. And as Bill said, the changes we're making in the subdivision, adding the ADA requirements to the sidewalks, and the fee schedule do not have to go to town meeting. They're just the public hearing part. So that's the difference between the two right now. Okay? So do you want time to look at that? And then the ones after that are each in article with the basically the same explanation, but in the fancy wording they need for the Attorney General. And this is what would go with the town meeting. There's one for each change here. Then after that is a copy of all the changes, and the changes are in bold. And you've seen these sheets many times.
Are we gonna have a joint meeting with zoning before we present this?
We don't have time to do that because we have to present this to the select board Wednesday.
Well, we don't have to present it, it has to be in their
It
hands.
has to be in their hands, yes.
Right.
We should still have a joint meeting with them. This affects them. We can do it parallel to everything else, but out of courtesy to the zoning board,
For all of the changes that we're doing?
I think we should go over them, but at least to go over the ones that affect them.
You know, we made changes at the public hearing if they had.
Correct.
Right.
So I mentioned that once before, and I know times because some of the stuff that is actually affecting them, we've taken them off or added them, or
Okay, I'll get that set up.
are we in agreement we should do that?
No, I agree, because I think we talked about it before, as we were removing some things, we actually took them off
And then,
part of it.
but you had mentioned it's hard to get them together. These things are kind of glued together now.
Well, it may be, but
Regardless.
even if, you know, a representative can sit with us for a few minutes and they can go back at their next meeting and
You want to try and do it before the public hearing?
before the public hearing, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, and then if we have any changes, we can announce them then that they had.
Even if they meet prior to it, we could go to one of their meetings if they were open to that.
Okay. So as we stand right now, do we need a motion or anything on these?
Sure.
Because we've had motions accepting the changes we
Changes
made, so
already.
do
To
we
submit
need
to the board of selectmen, right?
a motion just to go ahead with the public hearing and,
Submit the articles to the board of selectmen?
yeah, submit the articles and
Right.
public hearing and eventually in the special town meeting. So,
Right.
do you know that?
Yes, I think. I'll make a motion to submit this package regarding the bylaw changes to the Board of Selectmen as for their review as well as scheduling the public hearing for the residents of Granby for Monday, April 22nd, 2019, at 5:30 at the Carnegie Library.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay.
While we're talking about that, I did speak with town council. And we're obligated to hold a hearing on the moratorium within 65 days of receipt of the request from the select board.
We gotta be getting a little closer. We gotta be fast. Within the next day or
Well-
two.
That's because Kathy sent it to us on January 8th,
Correct.
electronically.
So, I would recommend that we hold the hearing the same,
To what? To add it to this package?
add it to this package.
Are you making any changes to it? To the wording on it? That they had submitted?
No, we're just gonna hold the hearing for a moratorium so that we can hear any feedback and then get it on the agenda for the town meeting.
Okay.
We're not presenting anything other than a potential moratorium.
Okay, all right.
So you'll need to modify the public hearing notice, the legal
Right.
notice, to include that article as well.
Okay.
It'll be a separate one, not
Be a separate
modified,
one?
just make it a separate.
Separate one, okay.
Oh, okay, so you want just a whole separate package with that one? Okay.
So, but I don't think we actually saw this until, I think we met, was it January
We
14th?
met, but it was emailed January 8th.
Yeah, but we need to act as a board when it comes to the full board for discussion to the board, correct?
What's that?
But it was sent as an email, but not until the board meets and presents it to the board. It
Right.
starts to
Our-
clock.
So,
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
we're not a full-time board, so the clock
Right.
shouldn't start ticking until the
So
first
January
time we
11th?
Right.
Was that our-
convene.
The 14th, I believe, is the Monday of the month. That would have been the second Monday of the month.
January 14th meeting, and so 65 days from there?
There. So,
But we're going ahead, so we need a motion?
yes.
Bob?
So Bob made the motion.
No, I didn't
No,
make
Oh,
not
so
for
the other
this.
one, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna let somebody else make the motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we put the hearing for the moratorium for solar the same evening, same schedule as the hearing for the bylaw changes for zoning.
Which would be April 22nd.
April 22nd, 2019.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Did you vote?
I'm not sure.
Do you want to abstain, or?
No, I don't want to abstain. I want to show a vote one way or the other. I'm going to stick with the board on this, and aye.
Okay.
It's a procedural thing, Bob.
I
Yeah.
understand that.
Right now, that's all it
That's-
is. There's a
We
procedural.
can get
thing.
it out there to the public and let the public make up, if you will, our minds.
Yes.
Yep. Or at least to get some feedback.
Okay.
So we're at 5 o'clock.
Well, it's actually 5 o'clock, so we're gonna do our, public hearing. Is there a motion to,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to
Oh, I'm
close our regular meeting.
okay?
Jim made the motion?
I'll
Yes,
second.
Jim made a motion. Bob second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay.
I'll make a motion, we open the public hearing for Red Rock Solar LLC.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No? Okay. So, it's just a, public hearing which is being continued to consider the application of CBV, Red Rock Solar LLC, of 3 Lion Street, Granby, Mass. 01033 for a special permit and site plan approval as required in the following section of the Granby zoning bylaw. Section 3.0, Table 1, Schedule of Use Regulations. Section 5.99, Large-Scale Ground-Mounted Solar Photovoltaic Installations. Section 6.2, Special Permits. Section 6.3, Site Plan Approval. The applicant proposes to install a 3.0 megawatt DC large-scale ground-mounted solar photovoltaic facility on approximately 21 acres or approximately 73 acre site comprised of 4 abutting parcels east of Lion Street. Assessor's map, parcel ID 17A-39, 17-A-40, and 17-A-41.1. which are located in the town of Granby, and parcel ID 20-4C, which is located in the town of Ludlow. All 4 parcels are owned by James Noraki, JLN Properties, 5 Lion Street, Granby, Mass. 01033. This site is located within the residential single-family RS zoning district.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes,
can we ask the people in the audience to sign in on the sign-in sheet?
absolutely.
Please.
Anybody who may be speaking, just please sign in.
You know, you want to pass that along and then they can start the
Do
presentation?
that.
You can do that.
Start the presentation.
Good to go?
Yeah, we can pass that along.
Brian Angus from Ty & Bond here on behalf of CPV Red Rock Solar, and I'll just introduce our team quickly. Brian Huntley, also with Ty & Bond, Mike Reska and Jake Romba, CPV Red Rock Solar, Jim DeRocky, and landowner, and then Greg Sampson, counsel to CPV Red Rock Solar. So we are excited to be in front of the planning board after submitting this application in December. As the chair mentioned, this is a proposed ground-mounted solar facility on 4 parcels, 3 of which are in Granby, 1 of which is in Ludlow. Just to orient the board, the site access, this is the main access to the landowner's current gravel operation facility, and it's the same entrance proposed for the solar facility. The Granby Ludlow line is right here. So the street address here is 5 Lions. This is the portion of the project in Granby, and this is the portion in Ludlow. Obviously here to discuss the Granby portion of the property, but just as an update to the planning board, we have completed the local review process in Ludlow. We've received site plan approval from the Ludlow Planning Board and an order of conditions from the Ludlow Conservation Commission. So focusing on the Granby portion of the project, we're seeking site plan approval and a special permit for the project. CPV Red Rock will be the owner, designer. They are designing, owning, permitting, operating system. They have an option agreement with the landowner. They will own the system for its life. They're not buying the properties. The landowner will continue to own the properties. In terms of the actual area in Granby, I'm not sure where Kathy got the numbers that were in the legal ad. This is an approximately 4.4 megawatt system, and about 1.6 megawatts are in Granby. So the bulk of the project is in Ludlow. The limit of work in Granby is about 7.4 acres. This is an existing gravel pit. I'm not sure if folks are familiar with the site, but it's an area that the landowner has worked for quite some time. From a siting perspective, it is pretty ideal in terms of a solar facility, minimal abutters. To the north, south, and east, there is existing vegetation and topography along Lion Street that is proposed to remain, so view shed impacts into the site will be minimal. And again, there's very little clearing required for the project, which sets it apart from some of the other solar facilities that the board may have seen. There's approximately 1.1 acres of clearing required in Granby to accommodate the project, but the rest of the project is going on areas that have either been previously disturbed through mining or just open. The project will be fenced with a perimeter fence with a wildlife passage underneath. We are currently in front of Granby Conservation Commission as well. There are no direct wetland impacts in either Granby or Ludlow. It's a buffer zone project only. We have received peer review comments from the Granby Commission's peer reviewer, and we'll be responding to those before our hearing tomorrow evening. None of their comments will impact the design or layout as you see it now. I think I will let Brian talk just a little bit more about the design and some of the stormwater issues. I can certainly walk through how, well, our application steps through each of the criteria for the special permit, the site plan review, and the stormwater, and the town's solar bylaw. And we can walk through those if the board wants, but I think we'll probably answer a lot of questions in this presentation. So I'll probably let Brian talk now, and then we can see where you want to go from there.
Okay.
Sure. So my name is Brian Lemley, and with Time Bond, the project engineer on the project. Excuse me. As Brian indicated, the majority of this project is located on an area that has been mined of gravel. So the existing conditions out there are, for the most part, essentially open areas. There are some piles of spoils from the screening operation. There are some overburden piles, but in general, it's an open site, an open gravel pit that we're looking at. So from a stormwater perspective, what we're proposing is to essentially do some, it shows like more than minor, but essentially minor regrading to take out the highs and lows. We're looking to put loam and then vegetation over the entire site. So we're taking an open gravel pit, and then we're going to turn it into a meadow habitat, meadow vegetation. So it will be mowed approximately twice per year. Once that, with the installation of the meadow habitat and then with the panels on top of it, we anticipate a pretty significant reduction in the stormwater leaving the site, an increase in groundwater recharge to retain the stormwater essentially as it falls throughout the site. As Brian indicated, we're using the existing access road. We do have a proposed equipment pad here, which is a concrete equipment pad. That's where the inverters, the transformers will be located. There's also provisions for potential for future energy storage on an equipment pad there, as well as what we see as the industry moving towards is storage going hand in hand with solar projects. And beyond that, the way the project is drawn currently is we have two potential locations of interconnection. And the reason being is that Ludlow uses Eversource for their energy, and as you know, National Grid is the energy provider for Granby. Interconnection applications have been submitted to both of those utility companies. Reason being that there are benefits of both of those utilities depending on who can provide a response quicker, a study quicker, and who has essentially fewer upgrade requirements for the interconnection. So where the interconnection is going to go is still up in the air, but as a worst case, our drawings have shown the impacts and have shown the utility interconnections in both communities. If National Grid is the utility company, there will be approximately 4 new utility poles shown right along the edge of the existing access road to connect to the existing overhead lines that are on Lion Street. Likewise, if it's Eversource, there will be, those 4 utility poles will be on the Granby side where they would interconnect to the Eversource, Ludlow side, where they would connect to the utility lines that are on Lion Street on the Ludlow side of the project. The intention is that it's a ground-driven system, so we're looking at some type of H piles would likely be driven into the ground. The racking would be built up from that. Utility conduits would all be underground to the equipment pads, and then out to a point where we would go into a riser pole for the final interconnection. I think that's the basic overview. Certainly open to a lot more detailed questions if you want to talk any more about any of that.
think in terms of, the site also lends itself well to potential construction period impacts. It's large enough and there are open enough areas that construction vehicular parking is going to be right in at the site. Once the project is operational, it's possibly a 1 vehicle trip a month to the site. These facilities are all monitored remotely. There's no lighting proposed as part of the project. The landowner is going to continue to operate his facility. So there's no, in terms of emergency access and response, you know, the access roads that exist today, and if board members have been into the site, they're pretty substantial and built up for Jim's equipment, but there is good access to each of the equipment pads and access throughout the site. I just, as Brian was talking, spun through each of the special permit, site plan review, and solar criteria, and I think we've covered a lot of them, so I guess we will turn it over to the board for questions at this point.
Yeah, I've got a few questions for you. The mining permits is issued by the select board, so when these get returned, decommissioned, if you will, you have to meet their specs on what they require. So, and I'm assuming what you're proposing will meet them, but this board would have to get sign off from the select board when they decommission a gravel pit. So in other words, whatever their specs are to return it once they're done with it, that would have to be met.
Yeah, and I think that's fine, and there's an area that Jim has already sort of finished mining and restored, and it's loamed and seeded and vegetated. That's what this site is going to look like, and then at the end of the solar lease, they'll pull that out, and I believe you will have a very similar condition to what the selectmen would require upon walking away from a mining activity. So that seems.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is we wouldn't approve it. The select board would have to approve turn the site to first.
Okay.
It's
At
just
the
not.
beginning?
Pardon me?
At the beginning of all this process, or?
Yeah, at the beginning.
So we get the decommissioning.
Right. Well, they gotta approve the decommission, so the site would be approved.
So we submitted a decommissioning estimate. Your bylaw doesn't require a very detailed decommissioning plan, but I think, you know, we have information on how the site will be, we have narrative on how the site would be left. We haven't provided a very detailed decommissioning plan for the end of the estimate, for the end of the solar project.
Correct. I'm talking about decommissioning from mining
Yep,
before it goes into.
before it goes into solar. Sorry,
So
I'm
in
a
other
little slow here.
so-
Got it.
So in other words, they have to sign up. In other words, we can't approve something that,
That'd be a fair condition that we have that requirement met for this building permit issue.
I mean, what you're presenting to us may be
Yeah.
fine with them, but they have to sign off on it.
Got it. I wasn't
Before
following.
it can change, before
I
the
understand that.
use change.
I don't know if this is relevant or not, but I'm still digging on it, so it's only a small portion of it, so we're not really decommissioning the gravel pit permit,
Not the whole permit, but for, I mean,
just the area that,
just that particular area, just to make sure that we're not approving something that doesn't meet their standards.
okay.
That's all, that's,
Jim, are you still excavating on the Granby side, or are you in the Ludlow side where you're doing
Both.
both? Okay.
I was just not
I was hoping
estimating where the
I
solar.
was hoping the answer was gonna be Ludlow and say, okay.
would you be willing to provide us with, well, we could get them from Ludlow anyway, but the conditions, any conditions that they,
We can send those. Should I send them to Kathy or?
Yeah.
Kathy's fine.
I can't tell. Are you an official PVPC rep?
Yes.
Sort of, yes. Okay.
and then the only other thing I'd want to add is, you probably heard it when you came in, we've been requested by the select board to entertain a moratorium on solar until some potential bylaw changes are in place. And according to town council, this project could be subject to the changes, if any are submitted. Two of the biggest changes that we've been told that they have concerns about is clear cutting. And this sounds like it's minimal.
Yep.
And then the second one is, from what I've been told, is they're concerned about, and I don't know all the details of it yet, we're still looking into it, but to form a municipal utility. And I guess that works, I don't know if anybody knows any more about it than I do, but it's
No. I know,
somehow that the town's gonna reap some sort of benefit from it, from the solar.
they're currently looking into it. That's where it stands right now. They're currently looking into it.
So this board's obligated to hold a hearing and then bring it to town meeting and let the voters decide whether or not they're going to entertain any of these potential changes to the bylaw. But, just to let you know that, and even if we approve something tonight or within the next month, it would still be subject to any potential changes that the town voted on at town meeting.
Right.
We have been following these issues in Granby, and I don't think I have any. Do you have questions?
What's the timing of the moratorium that's proposed? Is it through September?
We have not decided that yet.
Yeah.
That, again, that's gonna be subject to the town meeting. This board hasn't met on it in detail yet on what we would propose. And I wouldn't speak for the board, but my opinion would be, we would have a discussion on how long it would take us to review it and present potential changes, and not to make it any longer than it would need to be. Like, I've heard some 8-10 months, a year, or indefinitely. I don't think this board, or at least my opinion is, if once we review it, if we decided that, yeah, we should be tweaking the bylaw a little bit, then we'd back up from the date on how long it would take. It's in my opinion that you can't hold them for longer than 6 months legally anyway, from what I've read on it, so I don't.
Yeah, we've been in touch with town council when the first moratorium was, the non-zoning moratorium was put forward. And we understand at the time, obviously, there's a few steps that have to happen. You have to go through the public hearing exercises, then you have to town meeting approve it, 2/3 vote for the zoning article.
Right.
So,
Correct.
we felt, given the specifics of this site and what we were hearing about some of the concerns about the large-scale installations, particularly related to clear cutting, that this was worth pursuing, even in the potential pause associated with a review of the bylaws. So again, it's hopefully the board feels that this is a good proposal and moves forward on its merits. To the extent something happens,
Well, I just wanted to go on the record to let you know that what's taking place.
we appreciate that. Because I understand that there's some risk, but hopefully this project and would be any future bylaw change anyways.
Unless a permit's issued before the moratorium would play a factor as well. Right?
Permit would have to be issued before the first publication.
Right. So,
What about a peer review?
Well, that's why I'd like to see the conditions from Ludlow too, first.
And we can also, the Conservation Commission's peer reviewer also reviewed the stormwater, so they reviewed both Wetland Protection Act and stormwater issues. So
Oh, so that's
we'll
a
get you
step
those
that's already
comments
been
as
done.
well.
Yeah. So you could give us both of those?
Yep. and our responses to. And then Ludlow was the same, stormwater wetlands.
One question I have, actually, it's looking for some guidance. Right where the town line is, the Granby Ludlow
Yeah.
town line, it passes through a row of panels, or bisects a row of panels. How does that fall in with setbacks from property lines and the like?
Sure, so we haven't formally requested anything in writing, but given that these are, abutting parcels under common ownership, and thinking about the intent of setbacks, we are not showing setbacks between this property line here. That was fine in Ludlow. We're hoping that Granby feels similarly. I didn't know previously, but elsewhere, we're meeting all Granby setbacks and not seeking any relief. But yeah, we aren't showing setbacks to this property line here. With the landowners.
Right, so in the underlying real estate agreements, the easement agreements, there's a waiver of setback requirements in the agreement. And the agreement runs with the property, so if Jim ever decided to sell the property, that would be part of title, and the new owner would be subject to that same requirement.
So it's running in perpetuity?
Or until, the end of the easement term, at which point
End of the
everything would be
conveyance.
moved. Correct, yeah.
So there's just that one that has that issue.
Correct, all other.
Well, depending on what the
All other
setback is.
setbacks in
Right.
Granby and Ludlow, the site lends itself well to meeting all dimensional controls.
I personally think it's a minor point, but I thought I would mention.
Yeah, I don't have any concerns with it.
Chronology,
What-
town
what
town-
I-
town to town and county to county.
The only thing I would have a concern about is, first, responding to emergencies, who's gonna cover what?
Right.
Yep.
And we've already got this problem in Granby with another abutting town with fire services.
How would it work now?
Correspondence.
Who would respond to a non-solar emergency down here? I don't even,
Probably not.
that's a question, but I don't know the answer.
Well, I think if it's on the Ludlow side, it'd be
Access
someone
is
from
great.
Ludlow. But depending where the access is coming from, like you said, if the access is on Granby's side, but the actual property's in Ludlow,
There's gotta be some sort of a demarc there, I would
Yeah.
think.
because most property, like a house or a building or something like that, there's access if it's in one town or versus another town.
We did, Ludlow Fire commented during the site plan review proceedings and didn't have any comments or concerns about this issue.
What was proposed?
A response from Granby
Quite
Fire
silent on it.
Department.
Okay, well, I think we should
Fire chief.
come up with an answer to that question.
Does Granby have a mutual aid agreement with Ludlow? From,
I believe so.
I believe so.
Well, the fire department's gonna review this, so
There
we'll
has been a
just go
response.
with
Right.
typically with what they recommend.
We'll get you the,
There is a response
There
from
is
our
a
fire
response
chief.
from the fire chief.
It's in this packet.
What's that?
It's in this packet.
Glenn has
I
it in
have
his
right
hand right now. That basically says he's working with the Ludlow fire
Right.
chief
Okay, that's,
for an agreement or whatever. He has some concerns.
Right, which is all important before something's approved, that the agreement's in place.
Dave DeRocher, highway superintendent, takes no exceptions to the,
And the
To the
Board of
plan.
Health didn't have any.
No, didn't have
Board
one.
of Health was in there.
It was in one.
The last one.
Oh,
And as you're still meeting with conservation, we don't have their answer yet.
that's fine. And we haven't seen those, but can happily respond to them.
Are we gonna do a roundtable like we've done with others?
Bill, has the roundtable already, or it's only been handed out to departments?
Right.
There has not been a roundtable discussion.
You know how I feel about
I
those.
think we get feedback from, which is good, we get the feedback from the fire chief.
Mm-hmm.
We got the feedback from
Highway, Board of
Highway,
Health.
Board of Health, so
Concom is working on it.
I don't know if we're gonna need a roundtable if we're getting answers from everybody.
Wasn't the purpose of the roundtable so that all the other departments can hear what everybody's concerns were? I know, Jim, you were concerned about that process and how it actually.
Yeah, because we don't get direct feedback the way we should be from them. I'd rather get it in writing based on what the fire chief has already provided.
So we'll need another response from him once it's settled.
This doesn't seem like a very complicated project anyway. It's not.
No, it's
No,
okay. It
but-
sounds like they're already in communication, talking about it, so I think it's just to figure out, you know, and it depends what the access road's gonna be, I think.
You're going to want to open this up to the public too.
I mean, I think the fire chief has some legitimate concerns here. He states, the proposal includes what is referred to as an emergency response plan. This document is not sufficient and reads more as a contact list than an actual plan of action. So I think, you know, he's really not getting the information that he's looking for.
Oh, he's looking for some contact
Right,
information.
I think so,
That's not that major.
Any more questions?
Well,
And they're gonna have to provide that, that's always a condition of
right.
our approval, is that there's contact information, it's on site, and it's also
Right.
provided to him at his office, the fire.
I would suggest that you work with the fire chief on whatever emergency plan you propose. I
Yeah,
think-
we have an initial emergency response plan that was in our application. It's absolutely standard practice to meet with emergency responders prior to construction, prior to operation. They'll provide training to emergency responders as well in terms of access to the site and disconnect, et cetera. But we can, once we see those, we can respond.
Well, I think at this point in time, we have to continue this evening's hearing.
Well, we need to open it up to the
Is there any more questions from the board? No. Is there any questions from the public in regards to this? No? Okay.
Can I just ask about a landscaping plan? Are there any butters that are affected by this?
There's no proposed plantings. This abutter is the closest. He actually came to he's in Ludlow, came to the Conservation Commission and Planning Board hearings there and didn't express any concern. This is the landowner's son, and the landowner is here.
And he has no objection. Whether that's
The beauty of this site is that all the vegetation along here is proposed to remain.
Okay.
So there's really minimal impacts.
That's good. And you have a stormwater management plan?
Yeah, it was in the application and has been,
Brian, can you describe that for us?
I kind of did at the beginning, that essentially the stormwater on the site runs all towards the low area here, and based on the conversion of the site to the meadow, we're actually reducing the peak rate runoff as well as increasing groundwater recharge. So essentially the conversion in the cover type is what's going to provide the majority of the mitigation for
So there's
stormwater.
no basins?
There are no
proposed?
basins
Okay.
proposed, there are no formal features
I see,
proposed.
okay.
There's no O&M that's going to be required other than
Okay.
the mowing of this to maintain that meadow vegetation.
Okay.
How long do you think it'll be before you have anything from conservation?
so we already have the peer review comments and we'll be providing a response, and we have a hearing tomorrow night. There's a chance we're walking out of there tomorrow with a closed hearing. It all depends on whether they want our response to go back to their peer reviewer. So, you know, conservatively, whatever 2 weeks from tomorrow is, I can't think right now, but if they don't close tomorrow, we presume we can get it done at the following.
Okay, where I was going with that question is what's good for you folks, for us to accommodate you to continue the public hearing to what date, and to be able to address the fire chief's questions,
Yeah.
as well as Concom and any other
Yeah, what other homework do we have from the board? It sounds like we can definitely, sounds like fire department, highway superintendent, that's it. And we can provide you a copy of our Ludlow approvals and our response to the Granby Conservation Commission peer review letter, and hopefully close that process out. But is there anything?
Peer review. Our peer review.
Well, the peer review was done at the order of conservation regarding the stormwater.
We need a peer review for our stuff. We always do.
Typically, we're doing it mostly for stormwater management, which typically comes to us first before conservation gets it.
What would you want a peer review on? What engineering piece or what?
Does it have to be engineering? I mean, we've got all our bylaws to make sure, and it's probably just, okay, going through your checklist, because you did that in your packet.
I would put that on Bill to go through that. Unless there's something particular on engineering.
Yeah, I'm not an engineer, so
I understand that. So I'm saying a peer review is typically, engineering and/or anything else they may pick up. But after that, I think Pioneer Valley could do a review for us.
I'm happy to walk
I'm just one
through-
member, so that's my thought on it.
Yeah. I'm happy to walk through how we've met each of the bylaw requirements, and having the opportunity to be on the other side of this. Whenever we're providing peer reviews for the planning board, it's stormwater and design issues, which I do think in this case have been addressed by Berkshire Engineering, who was the Conservation Commission's peer reviewer.
In Ludlow, or here.
In Granby.
In here.
Yep, with GCA in Ludlow and Berkshire Engineering in Granby.
But one of the things that the peer review brought up on another one was, you still need to, you need to meet with the fire chief for this. That's not anything that, somebody's got to follow up on that. Are you saying that you're putting that with Bill?
Well, we're also, if we're continuing, we're happy to communicate with the fire department before your next meeting, so.
Right, and that's what we're looking for from the fire chief from Ludlow and Granby.
Exactly what did you say Berkshire did Granby's conservation?
Yeah.
Was Berkshire Design only asked to look at the stormwater management?
It was Berkshire Engineering.
Berkshire Engineering, I'm sorry.
They looked at Wetland Protection Act compliance and stormwater management design, so stormwater management design and standard. Yeah.
did they look at erosion sedimentation and
Yeah.
removal and soil management?
Yeah.
As well as construction phase SWIP requirements, construction phase stormwater requirements as well, was part of their review.
Maybe we should look at that review.
Well, that's always said the condition, any of the conditions from Ludlow.
Let's see if there's anything, so we'll rely on you then.
I will send it all,
Okay.
all the materials, and then
Do we want to see what type of panels they are, the type that how they're being anchored into the ground?
You just said they were going to put pylons in, right?
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, from a structural point of view, it has to meet all mass building codes, all hurricane requirements, wind requirements, snow load, everything else for this area in Massachusetts.
Okay.
So those are certainly all requirements that have to be met before a building permit would be issued as well.
Are these stationary or tracking?
Stationary.
You mentioned you might be doing battery storage at some point in time. So would the board require them to come back with a specific proposal when they're ready to do that, or would you do it at this point in time?
Well, I'd like to know where it's going.
I think we should.
Yeah.
Well, it all depends if it's in Granby or Ludlow.
Right.
I know it was originally thought that it was going to be in Granby.
It's going to likely depend on where the interconnection is, and where it goes, so.
Yeah.
we have carved out the physical footprint of a potential energy storage component in Ludlow.
That's another.
I think from our perspective too, if the board wanted that as a condition, that we'd have to submit the plan, just to we prefer administratively, to, you know, if you feel like it necessitates a hearing, but we don't think, like, our gut reaction is it's minor enough that if you just wanted to see
Yeah.
what the, you know, the details.
Well, I think it'd be, yeah, and I think it'd be good to know, depending on what the fire chiefs come back with too, as far as, you know, their take on it, as far as response and things like that, so.
Yeah, I mean, we could, I think if we would submit the data storage, we would provide a letter from the fire department and everything's with it.
So what would you guess you're talking for a time frame before you want to meet with us again?
As soon as you'd be, are you guys meeting in 2 weeks?
Yes.
Yes.
And I can't tell if you're implying that we need an order of conditions before you will close your process, because that affects our time a little bit. I can't confirm that we're closing with Conservation Commission tomorrow. Look at my calendar.
If approved, when would you think you'd start, commence?
It's all super dependent on the interconnection, so it's impossible to predict, but it could be a fall 2019 project.
Okay, all right, so that would be best case scenario?
Correct.
Okay.
From what we know today.
All right, so I would propose that we continue the hearing till the 25th. And then if we have information, then, you know,
That would be our preference.
and then,
Okay.
and then we can continue it again if we need to. But
Right.
let's keep on track with our regular schedule
Okay.
and take the information as it comes, whether in whole or in partial.
And can we get copies of the fire department letter from Kathy or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll send those to you. It's only the fire chief that had a question, the others were fine.
Yeah.
No, at least they can have a copy of those, right?
That's our.
Dave
file
DeRosa.
copy. Those are our copies.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, they're good.
but I mean, you can send them a copy.
Yes.
Hitting
So
Bill's
is-
on camera now, so, I mean, Bob, so.
So was that a motion, Jim?
Well, I'm waiting for the chair to see if there's any other questions.
No, does anybody else have any questions? I thought we were, okay.
Okay.
I'm-
With that being said, I'll make a motion to continue the hearing to March 25th,
28th,
25th.
25th?
25th is the Monday.
25th, if you read it correctly, yes.
What time?
5 o'clock?
Sure.
So
5 o'clock?
we'll start at 4:30 then, to get anything else.
Probably better off at 5:30.
5:30.
5:30,
5:15.
5:15. Did we hear 5:15, 5:30? What do we do?
We're happy to start at noon if that's helpful.
It'll be a lonely meeting.
So I'll amend the motion to 5:30.
5:30.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to reopen our regular meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. What about you?
Where were we? We want to go back
So we have
and sign the approval there for,
Well, we've got 5:35 appointment.
Yeah,
oh,
that's the sign.
sign for Lincoln Property, West State
So
Street.
back to the regular planning before we go back into a public hearing.
Nobody here for
I think so.
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Alright, so I'm Tyler Cerny, bought 24 West State State Street from Bernatch Realty on October 11th, and a few days before closing, the sign was crashed into. So we'd like to replace the sign with a smaller sign. I apologize for not being here last time, I was out of town, but this is what I'm sure you know the crashed into sign looks like now.
Did that happen between the first time you were here and?
So I wasn't here the first time.
My son actually attended the first meeting.
So my point is, did that?
No, that the sign's been crashed into before we purchased the property in October. And the proposed sign is smaller. It's a 4x6 sign, wood, that we'd like to put in, hardwood, right here. And we have also plans from MassDOT. They're going to be redoing that road and sidewalk. So we took their plans where they show the sign is to remain, and we put together dimensions, what the new sign area would be. As you can see right here, it's this is the current sign, and inside it is the smaller sign.
So it's going to be much smaller. Centered basically where the two existing columns are, just centered in that stand. So it's not going to go anywhere closer to the street at all. It's just going to be basically centered to the existing structure. By the way, I'm Chuck from Chuck Signs.
We don't need to do fancy lighting and all that.
So no lighting at all?
No, I'd like to take a solar light and just put it there for at night, shoot up on it. I think that would look nice.
I tried coming up with a depiction of that, but
Yeah.
So what's the square?
representative of.
Oh, you got the square footage of the sign?
It's roughly 4x6. By 6.
By how tall?
4 square feet.
How tall?
48 inches, like 47 inches, right around there. Usually we go a slight tad under the 48 because when we carve it, you need a little extra space around it.
This meets our sign bylaw. This meets our sign bylaw. Doesn't need anything from us as far as I'm concerned. Meets the
And
setback.
not lighting it, so. But you said you wanted to put a solar.
Yeah, I'd like to put something on there. I don't need to if that's gonna cause an issue. I can come back at another time. Or
Basic landscape lighting is basically all we do.
it won't be Stony Brook Lodge anymore. I like the name. It's just you look it up online. The reviews are hit or miss. So we were gonna change it to Lincoln Lodge.
How far away from the property line is it?
Does the sign conform to the front setback? Or is it within the setback?
It's going to be set back further than the existing sign, so it has to.
Okay.
Now, the proposed sidewalk is, the sidewalk that you have on here is the one that.
That's just my guesstimate. I grabbed that from the proposed sidewalk that's on here, and I kind of traced it out. And then I took actual ground measurements. So that could be, slightly off, to be honest. But like I said, it's guaranteed that it's going to be in further because it's going to be within.
This is from
You have a
This is where the current sign is.
existing
And ours is gonna be in more.
structure of 60
I'm sorry, can
feet
you-
with the roof.
So this
This
is
is
the
going to
island
be well
right now.
within that between large.
Right, so you,
So with the widening of the road that Mass DOT is talking about, is that going to be out of?
It's going to be out of the way. And that's why they're not touching the side at all. when they go through.
They're not touching that side?
The DOT is not moving. Sometimes they have to pull out the sign and move it. It's not affecting the sign.
Where it is right now, or the one you proposed?
at all, so.
I thought they were talking about taking some property by eminent domain as well.
So they were talking about taking the property by eminent domain to park their vehicles there, to park some equipment there while they were doing the construction. That's what I was told. When I met with them and he gave me these plot plans, these drawings. And the sidewalk is on our property. But it shows on here that the existing sign is not to be touched or to be moved by that sidewalk, or what they're doing. In our sign that we're gonna put in, it's actually gonna be a little further away from the sidewalk than what's currently
So it's
there.
more to his property.
and we've already talked about that, our bylaws don't comply with the setbacks in those areas down there. Because there's a lot of those buildings or wetlands or like the pizza place or any of those, if you were to put us, enforce our setbacks, they'd be sitting in the middle of their parking lot.
Right, we'll go back, yeah.
Well, like the issue we had with Chateau Harmony.
Correct. So,
I just hate to see them put up the sign and then DOT come through and go, whoop, we're taking this and oops, you gotta move your sign.
that's their problem. I mean, it meets our
Well, we don't know, right, it meets our bylaws.
They told me it's not gonna move.
You're right, that's all, the state could change their mind and reconfigure it.
Well,
So-
hopefully we'll put it in so it'll be easily removable and
There you go. There you
So did we ever find out how far away from the property line it is? For an answer to that question?
I can't tell by that.
Well, I have a measurement that one of my guys went up and measured, and if this is the edge of the island, it's 14 feet to the edge of the roof right now, but
But
I don't
going
have
in?
the sidewalk with that. That right here, I think I have it at 67 to the existing structure, to where the sidewalk's gonna be, but like I said, that's approximate. But now it'll even be more than 67, because my column's gonna be in another couple feet from that.
So,
It's gonna be probably 60, like 5'6", 7, maybe about close to 8 feet
from the,
from the new sidewalk.
New sidewalk,
okay.
because this is just over 5.5 feet from the proposed sidewalk.
Do we want to comment on the building commissioner regarding compliance with the sign bylaw? Or do you think it complies?
I think it complies, that's up to the building inspector. I think it's fine.
Right.
He did speak with the building inspector, he said it would be up to you.
Yeah, because of
As
the
far as
name
he's
change.
concerned, he's fine with
I
it.
don't care about that.
He said the dimensions looks like it should get by. It's because of the name change, I can't just fill out a normal building application because I'm changing the name due to the bylaws or something, because I'm changing the
I
name.
don't see, we don't have anything about that.
He said it's like a long,
Yeah, that's not an issue.
okay.
Now, I'm curious, you said it was damaged by a vehicle?
Yeah, that's
Could that happen again? I mean, is
No, it's
that
happened, it's happened
a
once.
dangerous location for some reason? How did that accident happen?
I don't know. It was a tenant, I know that.
Was it speed along the highway or?
I don't know, they were turning into the property, I don't have much information.
I don't think it's in a dangerous location, I mean, in the
Okay.
signs where the other businesses are pretty much actually closer probably to the road than that is, going up to it too.
Okay. I mean, I hate to see you come back again.
No, I don't.
With another accident.
Not that side.
Right.
So the planning board's decided, you want to do a motion? That it's not within our, if the sign,
Meets our
I'll make,
requirements.
not that we need to do this, but I'll make the motion that it meets the bylaw requirements.
And the fact that it's going in basically the same footprint
Yeah.
as the existing damaged sign.
you want that in the motion?
We can, I would do.
Well, that way,
do we
if
need a
somebody
motion
says
though?
anything, we're within that footprint that was previously allowed.
Okay.
I mean, I think the building commissioner is looking for some input from you, so if you
Right.
want to.
But like I said, I think it meets all
Right.
the requirements, and the existing sign's actually gonna be back, 2 feet more than the existing sign.
The one requirement it doesn't meet is the 20-foot setback from the property line. But as Jim stated,
Nothing down there
nothing
does.
down there does.
And it's a replacement
Right.
of an existing sign, so.
And it's less obtrusive than the other big
Yes.
thing that was there, so.
Yes.
So
Okay.
let me restate the motion.
You want me to read what I had here?
Sure.
Okay, your motion is that the sign meets the bylaw requirements and the fact that the new sign will be within the current footprint. Is that okay?
It's fine by me.
Need a second?
Second.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you very much, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
When you get down to get the permit for that, just tell him to read our minutes. It's in the minutes.
Okay. Thank you.
Enjoy your evening, have a
You
good
too,
night.
thank you.
Now we need to close,
Make a motion to,
well,
oh no, we got 5, oh no, we're over, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to close
the regular-
the regular meeting to be reconvened at the end of the public hearing and open the public hearing for Borrego Solar Systems regarding the Kendall Street Solar Project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. So at this time, we're going to hear for our public hearing. It was actually scheduled for 5:45 PM. It's to continue the hearing to consider application for Borrego Solar Systems, Inc., at 55 Technology Drive, Suite 102 of Lowell, Mass. 01851, for a special permit and site plan approval as required in the following section of the Granby zoning bylaw, Section 3.0, Table 1, Schedule of Use Regulations, Section 5.99, Large-Scale Ground-Mounted Solar Photovoltaic Installations, Section 6.2, Special Permits, Section 6.3, Site Plan Approval. The applicants propose to install a 6.2 megawatt DC ground-mounted solar photovoltaic facility on approximately 30-acre portion of the parcel land located at 0 Kendall Street, Assessor's Parcel ID 8-B-5, owned by Breezy Acres LLC of 25 Pleasant Street, Granby, Mass., which is located within the residential single-family zoning district. All right.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Since I last appeared before you, I've had some discussions with the fire chief about the access. We've agreed to provide a circular turnaround at the south end rather than the T turnaround that was there previously. He wasn't sure of the radius that he needs for turning there, so he's going to provide me with the radius so that we can show that on our plan. He also added some other requests that he hadn't made before about disconnects that I'll have to talk with my electrical engineers about. We don't do our detailed electrical design until we have all the local, what we call non-ministerial permits, like through the planning board, the conservation commission. So we'll have to address that prior to building permit submittal. When I talked to him today, he felt that we were far enough resolved as long as we agreed to provide the circular turnaround and address the disconnects that we requested, that we can do that between now and the time that we provide our building permit submittal. There's a lot more design work for the electrical systems that has to happen before that's ready to submit. I also brought copies of the cut sheet for the new module. We had provided one for the old. This is very, very similar to that. It's just another manufacturer with a more efficient module.
Thank you.
Is this a rotating one?
No,
It does not rotate. It's fixed tilt like the other.
that's the other
It'll
one.
still be at a
Dickinson.
25-degree angle.
Are they smaller?
They're the
Size?
same size.
Same size?
They're more efficient, so they
Okay.
produce a bit more energy.
What's the efficiency?
These are 395s now, as opposed to,
What is
I believe we have
395? What does that mean?
395 watts. So each
Per panel?
module
Okay.
produces
I see.
395 watts. So when you multiply that by the number of modules, you come up with the DC system size that we've got listed on our plan set. And then there's also inverters that convert that into AC power before it goes into the grid. So there's also an AC system size that's listed there. I think those were the main items that were remaining. We had discussed the SWIP and providing that prior to the building permit approval as well. So that was outstanding. We did add on the site plan a notation that we provide signage with emergency contacts at the main gate. And that's really the only thing that's changed since the last time that we've been before you. We also added, based on our discussion at the last meeting, we added landscape buffering around the northeast corner that's near the residence, where we showed you the proposed visual of what it would look like
Right.
after construction. So we're going to place 2 rows of evergreen trees at 10 feet on center, so they're staggered. So the tree in front is between the 2 trees in the back.
Okay.
So it'll provide a nice, solid buffer there.
So what's the size of those trees?
We're proposing 6 to 8 feet at time of planting. They have a tendency to set well. They get set and then they grow in a more healthy manner. We've had better success with that size of tree than trying to plant larger trees from the beginning because they have a much lower survivability rate. So we end up coming back in and replacing those larger trees, and in the meantime, the smaller ones have grown up to the size that we would have planted in the first instance.
When was our last meeting, our last hearing on this?
I think it was a month ago.
Yeah, a month ago.
It was,
At least a full month.
it was February 11th, exactly a month ago.
Now, what about the, where you were gonna show in your, where you have your stormwater management? You said you answered all the questions in there. And then on the peer review, you say that some of these are answered in the stormwater management. And I asked you if you could point to exactly where it's, you know, where it resolves that issue, and you said you had to get back to us on that.
I don't recall that question, but we did provide that to your peer reviewer who did not have any further questions on that. Her email indicated that she was recommending approval with conditions.
Right.
After that last submittal.
But my question was, well, the question here, the applicant should clarify how the site plan will be stabilized following tree clearing and grubbing, and your response to the peer review where this has been provided, see stormwater pollution prevention plan. What I would like for you to point to me is exactly where does this fit in there, because I can't find this wording in there. All you're doing is responding to
In the
all the
stormwater pollution
stormwater.
prevention plan?
Yeah, all you're doing is
That's what
responding
she
to
asked
this.
us to provide a final copy of prior to building permit.
Then how can you say
It's got a whole list of erosion controls that are called out in there. What we do on forested sites, and hopefully I mentioned it at the last meeting, is that when the trees come down, they chip the trees. They can use that for wood chip berms around the perimeter of the site. They can stabilize individual disturbed areas with it, using it like a mulch. Those are ways that you can handle erosion control on the site.
okay, but not being a stormwater management person, I cannot connect the dots from this question to that answer on the stormwater. All you're doing in the stormwater report is, here's all the state's requirements, here's how we're meeting that. What I want to know is how you're meeting these questions in here, in
There's
there.
erosion controls shown on our grading and erosion control plans. So there's silt fence around the perimeter, silt sock.
So it's not in the stormwater management response?
It will be called out in there as well in the final version that we'll provide. But it's shown on the erosion control and grading plan.
And the construction sequence?
The construction sequence is in the notes.
And, okay, so your answer here is that these are in the stormwater management
It's called out
response,
in
so
both
it's,
places.
in effect,
So
you're saying
I'm
it
sorry
isn't.
for the confusion,
I'm
but it's
trying to
called out.
connect them, and I'm
It's
not
called
getting
out.
anywhere. I'm sorry, I need a black and white here, so until you can get me a black and white, I don't think these questions have been answered.
Well, unfortunately, your peer reviewer is not here to answer that question, but her email indicated that we had answered it adequately. So if that's not sufficient, I'm not sure how to answer your question. We provided copies of the stormwater management report
Right.
and draft copies of the SWIFT for review previously.
Right, and I have the stormwater management report right here.
Okay.
So if you looked at that, can you look at this question here and tell me where in that report this is answered? That's all I'm asking.
Is that saying in the stormwater? No, that's referencing the SWIP. This is the stormwater management report.
And what is this?
That is the stormwater pollution prevention plan.
And where is that?
We provided a draft of it. If you have all the information that was submitted, it's a larger document.
Oh, la, 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 la.
I may have a copy of it.
Is that something you want to reach out to our peer review on?
I just want to know, I mean, we're signing off on something, say, yeah, we know, and we're assuming somebody else knows what they're talking about, but who's going to be able to connect the dots if that person isn't here? Anybody should be able to, yeah, that was answered right here.
But what I'm saying is our peer review said they were okay with it. We want to reach out to them and find out, have them clarify as to what your question is.
We could do that.
Well, how do we verify that? Is it a written letter, or we just take their word?
Oh, you do that?
They sent us
They did? We have that?
What,
From the peer review, we have that
the letter?
acceptance letter?
The letter from the peer reviewer?
Yes.
You should provide it via email prior to the last meeting.
Okay.
So, if you look through our draft SWIP that was provided, the erosion and sedimentation, or sediment controls is section 5, which is on page 14 of the document. It goes through sediment controls, best management practices, stabilized construction exits, silt fence, stockpile management, dust control, temporary sediment basins if required, check dams if required, temporary stabilization for all phases, erosion control blankets if necessary, soil roughening, and temporary seeding. And it also provides a phasing or a construction sequence. Which is section 3.4.
I don't have that here. Probably have it electronically, but I don't know that yet.
Would it be over in the cabinet, Joe?
Might be. This is Ty and Bond's peer review.
That's the previous.
And then you responded to
I
those
responded
questions.
to that. She responded to my resubmittal by email.
Yeah, just not with much, just saying that it was okay.
Well, that's what I'm asking though, is it would be easier for us to contact Diane Bond as in regards to your question?
Mhm.
Since they said that they were okay with everything and
Yeah,
you're referring to a certain part, so.
that would,
Yeah, the SWIP is something that's generally finalized close to construction. It's provided along with the NPDES permitting that goes through the EPA. It's all part of the same package. So it's finalized and you submit an electronic notice of intent to the EPA, and it's 14 days prior to construction. So it's much closer to the actual mobilization for construction. We did draft it in this case since your reviewer asked us to review the draft, but the final is produced at the very near term before we mobilize for construction.
so the draft is what the peer reviewer looked at
Yes.
with the questions, that was where it came up with those.
And she saw the revised draft and responded
Okay.
that it was
I
acceptable.
don't know what I'm looking at, so I would like to know what I'm looking at. Yes, if the peer reviewer can explain it to me so I can understand it, I would be happy with that.
Well, I'm fine with that. I mean, if you want your question answered.
How do we want to handle that communication?
Well, Susan Wester was our communicator with the peer reviewer, so you wanna handle that, Bill?
Ask of the peer reviewer to, you had a number of questions I know you sent me. I suppose we could forward those to,
Yeah, I can put these in an
To
email.
Jean Christie.
And reference the, where
right.
they are in the,
What questions are you referring to?
this was, this is this document here where the peer reviewer came up with things that needed to be done, suggested, and Dean responded to them. This is his response to them. So, number 9, the applicant should clarify how the site will be stabilized following tree clearing and grubbing, and he said this has been provided CSWPPP, so I have it incorrect here. It's not storm water pollution prevention plan?
That's correct, but the document that you was the stormwater management.
Oh, that's something, okay, so,
That's more about the hydro calculations.
but you said you submitted this in with your...
Yes, and the planner had a copy here, and those were the sections that I was referring to.
Okay, so that one, and then the applicant should provide a construction sequence which was answered in the same
It's also
thing.
in that document.
But I just couldn't make the connection. And that's all I was asking on that. Glenn, you had asked to see a picture of the sign and what it would look like.
Right. That's what sign is.
Did you ask for a photo?
Yeah, let's see what the sign was gonna look like when it's up there. If you had something so we knew.
We've done it on other projects. It's generally 2 feet by 3 feet. It identifies the project, it identifies the system owner, it identifies emergency contacts in the event of an emergency. So it gives phone numbers, addresses.
Yeah, I think before you said you could just get a picture of one you had before.
Okay, I will get that.
And is there any other spots where that notification would be, or just that front
It's
entrance?
also in that same document.
Okay.
The stormwater pollution prevention plan.
You're talking
It
about,
has a list of emergency contacts and.
No, I'm talking about, is there any
Physical
physical locations, or is it placed anywhere else besides that?
Besides the main entrance?
Main entrance, yeah.
Not the emergency contact information. There are other hazard signs that
Okay.
get placed around the perimeter of the site that are required under the electrical code. So they give a warning that there's electrical equipment and to stay away, and then it does give some instructions on that too. They're rubber placards that are
outside,
rather
yeah.
small, but they're spaced out around the perimeter of the site.
Still nothing from the National Grid.
They take a very long time, yes.
And
So they will make a site visit closer to construction time periods. The applications for the interconnection, that's all been worked out. The impact study has been done, but they haven't done their final design of what improvements are going to need to be done to connect to the grid.
And those are improvements that you'll be doing?
We'll be paying for those, yes. They will construct them, we'll pay for them.
Okay. Oh, conservation?
Conservation, I didn't get it in time. I was hoping to be before them tomorrow night, but it's likely going to be their next meeting. So we are moving forward with that. But we have, as I described to you last time, we pulled the improvements out of the buffer area. So we're requesting, it's a request for determination of applicability, which they normally give a negative determination since we're not within their jurisdiction. So that's what we're anticipating.
Okay. Next you move them back.
Yes, significantly reduced what we had originally requested there. So we pulled out of those jurisdictional areas so that we're not impacting.
Okay, I think that's the only other things we were looking for.
It was what?
So the only things we were looking for from the last time, so.
I apologize for misunderstanding some of your questions. It's a little difficult sometimes to take notes and talk with you at the same time.
Is there any other questions?
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah, she knows. Is there any questions from the board?
Well, the latest plan I have is 1819, is that the most?
That is, except for those minor revisions that I mentioned. They're included with this. I can provide whatever number of copies that the board desires. I can provide them to Kathy Leonard. But I have copies of those revised sheets as well as a full set of plans. So I can provide additional copies to Kathy. But maybe I can leave this with you. Pardon me?
Electronically too?
Sure.
How many are there?
There are 7 copies of the revised sheets, 1 full copy of the plan set, so that you have all the pages collated. And there's also copies of the cut sheet that I handed to you. So there's 7 individual copies of the 2 sheets that were modified slightly.
So basically, the only thing we need answered is what you were asking for, connecting the dotted lines on the.
And we can probably get that on peer reviewer.
So,
And a picture of the sign?
Yeah, I'd like to see what's gonna be placed up there. I mean, you can, I think you mentioned it, I thought before that you had used it many times.
Other projects, I know that I have some photos, but we have.
I mean, I'm not set in stone, but if you have one, I'd like to see it. If not, I mean, obviously you described the sign and what it's gonna say.
I'm
It's,
happy to provide that. I'm sorry that I
Yeah.
missed that in my notes. I can email that.
which is fine.
Is that, are either of those significant enough that you want to withhold a conditional approval on this evening? It's kind of a long trip for me.
Yeah, I don't need to see the sign. I just like to see the picture, but I mean, he described it, the size, what it's gonna say. I'm fine with like visual of it.
Email the sections of the SWIP that we were just looking at that apply to your questions as well. Copy Jean Christie from your peer reviewer from Time Bond, your planner, so that they see those same answers. It is all lined out there in the draft that we provided. So I think it sufficiently answers your question and makes that connection for you. There are half a dozen more different erosion control measures that are outlined there. There's a full construction sequence that's outlined in that document as well.
here's, if I may.
Yes.
Here's what I'm gonna recommend, and this is not a motion, but I'm gonna recommend that we, tonight, we close this hearing, make a decision on it, conditionally. But I'd also recommend that part of the condition would be to have Borrego pay for I don't know if we'd call it a peer review, but an engineer throughout the process to assist the town building inspector to make sure that all the conditions, stormwater's being met, the drainage, the swales are all being built to spec. And then a final sign off.
Yeah.
We've done that before,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like subdivision projects, that sort of thing.
And we're happy to place a deposit or however the town wants to handle that for an inspection by a third party during construction. We're agreeable to that.
Is there any other questions from the board? Is there any questions from the public?
So, I'm Eric Liesel, 50 Kendall, I'm the nearest butter to the entranceway. So now if we're talking about doing a circular turnaround, it's not that big back there. It'll turn around big enough to turn around a fire truck. How does that impact my barrier and my well that's in the back corner of my lot?
If you're up in this vicinity, it's not up there. It's all the way to the south.
I think I'm right at the corner then.
Right here? Right here.
Yeah, but this is my house right here.
Oh, that one? Yes.
This is where my well is.
We're not proposing anything different in
But
that
this is
area.
where your turnaround's going to be.
No, the other end.
No, it's at the other end, side, Eric.
Okay.
Where is the gate?
Pardon me?
Where is the gate? Where the sign is gonna be?
The gate is right on that corner. It's right near that corner.
My only question is, who's our contact person through this process? If conditions aren't being met, are we reaching out to them, or do we have somebody within town?
If you have, if I may, if you have a complaint,
Town.
it goes to the town building inspector or code enforcement officer.
Yes, during the construction phase, we'll have a project manager that's assigned to the project. He'll be managing all of the procurement and construction arrangements. There will be an on-site site supervisor that's there. Those two will have their contact in the building inspector. So if there's anything that you're concerned about, you can raise it to them. We're happy to provide direct contact to those people as well, so that you can reach out directly to them if necessary. But he's right that the building inspector should be aware of.
Well, they have to, assuming they get approval, they have to go fill out a building permit. And all the pertinent information will be on the building permit for the code enforcement officer to be able to contact them and address issues.
It will all be listed on the cover page of our drawing set that gets approved. So my name will be there.
And I access that through the building inspector?
The building inspector. So if there's anything you feel that they're not doing correctly in a complaint, it'd go through the building inspector. He's the code enforcement officer for Granby. So, and he'd follow up on it.
And we're happy to provide that directly to you too. We're far enough away from construction that our project manager hasn't been designated yet, but at the time of building permit, that will be established, and we can provide that before anything is touched on the site, so that you know who to reach out to if you have a problem, if there's noisiness from our contractors or anything like that, they'll take care of it for you. And as I mentioned earlier, we are having landscape buffering around that northeast corner that's directly behind your property. I don't think you were here at the last hearing, but yes, we provided that visual, and you can see a little bit, or we anticipated you would be able to see a little bit of the system from there without the landscape buffering, so we added that.
Okay. I have a hard time believing I'm not going to see it with the landscape buffering. I walk like that.
Well, if you're not happy with that, you can reach out to us too. We want to be a good neighbor to.
Is there any other questions? Is there a motion on the table to close?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed?
Yeah, I'm not voting on this, right?
Right.
Right.
I'll make a motion that we reconvene the meeting for discussion of the,
Is our meeting?
Well, we don't need to do that.
no,
Because we're going to discuss it, right?
Yeah, so the hearings.
we just closed the hearing.
Yeah.
Right,
now
so
we can discuss.
we have to come back into our meeting. Because we closed the meeting.
It doesn't,
You actually, I think you said that in the last motion you made before you,
we've
gonna
closed
come out of it.
we've
Yes.
closed the hearing to public.
okay.
Okay.
But his original motion to open up the public hearing, I believe stated would come out of it to adjourn that to back to reconvene our normal meeting. All right. Any thoughts, anything?
I'm fine with moving ahead with it conditionally, to address
Yeah.
Will's concerns.
Yep.
And that one of the conditions will be that we will hire an engineer, an engineering firm, to review conditions and to make sure that it's being built to specs
I think that's
During
important.
during the process.
throughout the whole process.
Whole
from
process.
And until they and the building inspector signs off on it, that they have met all the conditions and it was built to specifications, that a certificate of operation isn't issued until such
And as you just said, we hire an engineer at Borrego's expense.
Correct.
Yes.
Just want to clarify
Yep,
that.
yep.
Yes, you can designate whatever firm you want, or we can use Ty and Bond. They've provided inspection services on other projects that we worked on as a third party. So whatever the board recommends, we can place a deposit with the town to pay for their fees, or I think we paid the deposit directly to Ty and Bond for this peer review. But normally we place a deposit with the town, and then the
Right.
third-party inspector draws.
I thought your money was original peer review money was deposited to the town of
Perhaps,
Granby.
maybe I'm mixing projects there.
Yeah.
We had one
That's
recently
right, it was.
where we had to pay the third party directly.
Yeah.
So, yes, we're happy to provide a deposit.
And actually, didn't we take a large chunk of money up front?
I believe it was
$10,000?
We did.
$10,000 for this peer review, yes.
And
So it'll probably be a similar amount for inspections.
Based on the size of the project.
How much did we expend out of that?
I was gonna say, I don't think we
I think
expended
we
that.
only did the peer review expense out of there
Right.
so far.
I know, but where are we at with that, do you know? What we spent to date?
For some reason or other, $3,500 seems to,
Yeah, that kind of clicks too. with
but
me.
I don't know where I'm getting that from.
So
We can look at that.
That aside, we can decide after who we want to use, get an estimate from them, and then if it exceeds what is still left in the deposit, then we'll be sending you a letter for additional funds.
Just,
Does that make sense?
Have Kathy
Makes sense.
send an email with the request, we can get the check cut and sent into the town so that
That makes sense.
money's
Yeah.
deposited.
Yeah.
We still have an issue with the turnaround the fire chief hasn't approved yet, hasn't given you the dimensions yet,
Right.
so you'll need to modify.
So that'd be a condition.
Sure, that could be a condition that we provide a final set of plans that's been accepted by them prior to building permit application, if that's acceptable to the board.
Yeah, if he doesn't provide that by the time your application, you go back to the T.
I don't think it's gonna take a great deal of time. He just needs to investigate what the turn radius is on his largest equipment
Vehicles are.
is, so that we can provide for whatever largest piece of equipment he would anticipate having on site.
Dean, could you refresh my memory? When did you think possibly start of construction realistically is?
I don't have an exact date, but we would probably try and target late summer, early fall, so that we could get the major site work done before the weather turns. If not, then it might be delayed until the next spring. So I would say latest it would be next spring, around this time, or April 1st, as the weather is warming up for the spring. So it'll either be late summer, early fall, or springtime next year. Yes.
In terms of taxation, does the town normally require a pilot agreement of some sort, or is it based on just the market value of the facility? Because a number of these solar projects have asked for abatements of their tax bills, and so the town, many towns have thought they were getting a lot more tax revenue from these than they're ending up getting.
To my knowledge, we have not asked for any money other than real estate taxes.
It's not, well, we don't ask for that.
We don't ask.
Well, I'm correct.
That would be up to the select board
And the assessors.
and the
And
assessors.
I'm wondering
to-
if we could condition that the applicant not request, an abatement of their
And the
tax.
only other fees I believe that we receive is based on the square footage, and actually it's, square footage of the pilings.
For the building
For the
permit
building
application.
permit.
And the
It's
fencing.
not unusual for our project developers to negotiate a pilot agreement, a payment in lieu of taxes with the board of selectmen.
Right, it's,
So it would establish a rate per megawatt that we pay rather than having it go to the real estate tax side.
right.
So they would pay a separate fee to the.
So I think we should add that as a condition then,
Established by the select board.
that they negotiate with the Board of Assessors for some,
Right, it's with the same thing we
Pilot
did
payment or
with,
something.
the ones on East Street there.
We did that?
Well,
We
Chris,
did
we didn't have the select board, that's their, the
Oh,
power,
you say
Chris
you
Martin,
were talking
Chris
about-
Martin did.
I understand, I see.
But, we, I mean, the town.
But there is the issue with pilot agreements that they may be worthless,
Well, that's to be determined, so,
determined already by Bella Taxmer.
well, but they're also trying to push through a law that would change that, so, which is to be determined, but.
right, but I think you can cover yourselves, until that
Yeah.
happens.
Well, first of all, you said you'd be willing to,
Our project developers, it's
Right.
typical for them to negotiate.
okay, so let's make it a condition.
Okay,
What's wrong?
Yeah.
absolutely.
It doesn't hold, it doesn't hold.
It, sometimes it makes more sense in this case, since we lease the property from the property owner, so that it doesn't affect any property taxes directly to them, it's on us. And then that payment comes directly from the solar project to the town, rather than, through the property owner.
So who submits the letter to the select board to take that out of 61?
That would be us,
Mhm.
with the property owner's authorization. They don't generally authorize us to do that until after these local approvals are in place. It's required prior to us obtaining our building permit, so it would be done by our project developer sometime between the time that we get your approval and the Conservation Commission's approval, and we apply for our building permit. So they would do it in that interim period when we're doing our detailed electrical design, and have that all set up to go before our building permit is ready to issue.
Is this a sale of land, or are you just leasing?
We
I said a lease.
We lease the property.
So you'll need to do some appraisals then of the property, so the town can decide what the value is for its right of first refusal?
Well, that's usually handled by the appraiser's office. They would calculate the back taxes.
Mm-hmm.
We would be responsible for that payment at the time that it's removed from 61.
Right.
How does this proposed moratorium, solar moratorium, affect Breezy Acres LLC? If a moratorium goes into effect,
Well, if you
Go
know,
ahead.
if they have your special permit prior to the publication of the notice, they are not affected by
Right.
the moratorium.
so if we were to take a vote this evening, they would not be affected?
Correct.
I understand, thank you.
Any time before the publication.
Correct.
I just mentioned, we did close the public hearing, so there's no more discussion with the applicant or the audience.
But there is discussion between us.
Between us.
Yes.
Correct. I'm just clarifying that.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay. Is there a motion from anybody?
I'll make a motion to approve, conditionally approve the application of Borrego Solar Systems, Inc. for Breezy Acres LLC. I think it's called Lot 0 or so, or no, number 0, Kendall Street. Assessors parcel ID 8-B-5.
What was gonna be there was some mention of what was gonna be
Conditions.
conditions.
One, a review from the peer review, tie-in bond to satisfy the stormwater management.
Which is your question, right?
Or the
It's
the
still,
SWIP. actually.
That's for
Isn't the SWIP,
Stormwater pollution prevention plan. That's different.
Condition 2 meets the fire chief's turnaround specifications.
Hire an engineer. Hire an engineer, or pay for an engineer.
Yeah, that'll be it.
Okay, not that.
The other one, it was to negotiate with the select board a rate in lieu of property taxes.
The pilot program.
Yeah, the pilot program.
Do you want to include, the Dickinson Farm Solar approval had a couple of pages worth of conditions. Do you want to include those as well for this project? We just did a modification of it, and I referenced that previous decision, which had a number of requirements in it.
the one from Dickinson?
Yes.
And then well, hang on a minute, and then a condition that they will satisfy an estimate for peer reviewing.
What was that again?
They will satisfy the amount needed for a peer review through construction.
Up until,
Through construction, up until a certificate of operation is.
Position. And all the other conditions?
And then, do you have those in front of you?
I can pull them up, yeah.
Okay.
Are they listed on the?
That decision referenced the previous decision,
Okay.
which contained all of the items that I'm
So
referring to.
let's not read them all off, let's just reference.
It was yes.
All right. No, these are specific to that site.
Yeah.
You're talking about the generic.
Yeah, sort of, I guess you would call them standard conditions that were identified in the Dickinson Farm Solar project.
the original one.
Yes.
That's the, yeah.
You're talking about the findings or the
Is that what you had sent out earlier today or yesterday? Yeah, that's backwards. That's page 2 there.
So, beginning on page 4, conditions, it lists 58 conditions.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so reference them somehow so we can
Yeah.
put it in there as.
Right, the ones that are applicable to this project I'll include. Do you want to, I suppose, I'll send you a draft of the decision, and then at that point you can decide whether.
Well, we're voting on it right now.
Right.
So we have to reference those conditions.
Right.
So,
So, it starts there. We can. I mean, it seems like you had imposed these on one solar project. It's
That's our
probably-
boilerplate conditions.
Right.
So then last of all, the conditions, our general conditions, 1 through 58, on the boilerplate general conditions that we impose on large-scale solar projects. So how many conditions, is there 4 or 5 there now, total? Is there 4 or 5 conditions there total?
Well, let's see. The first one is, time bond to review to satisfy the stormwater pollution prevention plan, meets the fire chief's turnaround specs, negotiate with select board a pilot program, that Borrego will satisfy the dollar amount needed for a peer review through construction up until a certificate of operation is issued. And then we have, let's see, that was 4. And then we have the 1 through 58.
General conditions.
Yep. That's 5.
As well as Borrego will provide a picture of the sign on the entryway.
Right, as you say, you can get one, so I don't know if he's gonna be able to give us one. Don't know if to see it. Anything else?
So, that was your motion. It's a big.
Go back to the pilot program.
Yep.
Can you read that out?
Negotiate with the select board a pilot program.
Well, yeah.
Then after that, it was the engineer, hiring the engineer.
The pilot program should be reworded that will enter into negotiations with the select board on a pilot program in good faith. We can't hold a condition that we can't control.
Well, originally you just asked the select board to look at it. Here you're telling them to enter into a discussion with them.
Correct.
So
But if they don't, but what I'm saying is if they don't come to an agreement, are we gonna hold the permit, if they don't come to an agreement, especially for something that we don't know will even be legal after the state gets done with it?
Well, if they're not able to come to terms, then I don't think you should let the project go forward.
Right, I mean, that's, if they're trying to, yeah, I don't wanna, if they can't come to an agreement, I don't think we should let the project go forward. I mean, listen to what he
Well,
said,
then it
I don't
goes
think,
back-
I
well,
don't
then
think
it
it was an
would-
issue anyways, besides that.
But-
No, it's just a matter of coming
Yeah.
to an agreement on the amount.
Right.
So, it's never been a problem for us in
Right.
negotiations, but
It may not be, but they may ask for more than's feasible, just to stop the program.
if you,
Or
if you
how about
ask
if-
us to enter the negotiations, that, I mean, if we don't come to an agreement, then there's no tax basis for us to proceed, so,
That's my point.
it wouldn't go forward in that case.
How about if we use some words like fair and equitable, or industry standard?
That's fine. That would make more sense than,
So enter into negotiations with the select board, right?
Yeah, but we can't
On a
dictate
pilot
what their
program, what do you-
negotiation's gonna be. That's up to them.
no, but I'm not willing to let the select board determine whether or not this project goes through based on some outrageous amounts of, and I don't know how that works. I don't know if
I
there's,
don't,
there's
legally,
lim-
I don't think they can ask for outrageous amounts. I don't know, Bill, you've got more.
It's generally based on property appraisers' data.
Right.
So it would be established similarly to raising the taxes on the property because of the change in use.
Usually it's based, it's an equivalent value if it were subject to taxation.
Mhm.
So you can't ask for more than you would otherwise get from taxes.
Right, that would be hardship or
How
something.
so why do we even want to make that a condition?
Yeah, to put that, we don't have to put that as a condition. That's between the select board and Borrego.
Well, we want them to have.
We wanna make sure it happens.
Right.
We want to make sure that they do it.
Because we're attaching
So-
that to the
You
permit.
can still ask us to enter the negotiations. negotiations.
So if we say enter into negotiations with the select board on a pilot program, or pilot agreement.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Since that's been explained,
It
sure.
doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean they have to come to terms.
No, let's just talk about it.
I'm good with that.
We would likely come back to this body if that happened. I haven't been in that position, but if that happened, we'd likely come back to you.
If they said no, or,
If there was no agreement, if they
Oh.
asked for, $1 million.
They'd ask us to lift the condition, but all we're asking for is them to enter into negotiations. Doesn't mean they have to come to a
right, and
agreement.
if they didn't,
I wouldn't come back to this body.
you would,
Yes, I would.
for,
Well, we would want to,
Have that
ask for
condition waived.
A revised decision that, changes that condition so that we could go through a normal tax process to establish those taxes on the property.
well,
Well, all we're asking for is you enter into
not make a decision, just talk about it.
if you can't come to terms, it's not conditional.
That's perfectly acceptable.
Okay, that makes more sense. So that's your motion, Bob.
Okay. And how are we fixed on the decommission plan?
They have one.
We have one, if that amount's acceptable, we normally place that bond prior to the permit issuance.
That was good.
Yeah, that's in there.
Was aware of it,
Yeah.
approved it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my motion.
Cost.
So everybody's clear on the motion?
The only question I have, and it goes back to my concern, is that, with your motion, is that if agreement's not made, it's still a permit will be issued. So I'm wondering, I want to make sure that the town benefits from what the town should be benefiting from this as well.
Well, they will. It's going back on the taxes. It comes out of 61A, and it gets taxed based on how the assessors tax it.
So that'd fall back to that part there.
On the property.
Correct.
Which
That
is,
would be the fallback.
which I'd imagine is much less than what a pilot,
I think the pilots tend to be negotiated a little higher.
A little higher.
Than what the standard
Texas.
change would be for the land use, so that it's more of a benefit to the
Town,
town
okay.
in the long run than just a straight assessor's value.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye, opposed,
One opposed.
Then it's denied.
denying. Yeah, I don't have enough information. We don't have the answer from conservation. You're asking me to make a decision today. Today, I don't have all the answers.
Okay.
Even if you make it a condition, I don't want to vote on it until I have all the information. We could have other conditions if something comes through.
We could have other conditions if something.
Well, once we hear from conservation, there may be other conditions we may want to put on besides what you've already got on here.
Then they would have to come back before us. If conservation alters that plan for whatever reason, then they have to come back before us for approval. That's just the process on how it works.
That's fine, but till I have an answer from conservation, personally, I can't make a decision.
Well, at this time, it's been denied, so how do we move forward with this?
We're gonna have to give them a decision on why it was denied. And it's gotta meet our bylaws.
Okay.
So we have 3 yeses and 1 no.
Right. So we'll have to come up with, we'll have a decision why it was denied and the reason why it was denied for our next meeting to be sent to them.
So,
We could,
what does that mean? That means that I have to go back through the entire process.
I was just gonna ask that question.
I mean, if I thought that this was going to be denied, I would have asked for the continuance. So, the issues that are still open are so minor. It just doesn't seem process for months and months, and that's not a fair decision. I think you might be opening yourself up to something. You might present this back to money management after months of coming before this body.
If he speaks, can I speak?
No,
And actually,
Meeting is closed.
the meeting's closed
Why is he speaking?
because he's asking about the decision, because the decision affects him.
Also,
But they're the person the decision's asked about. So the public part of it's been closed, that's all.
Well, I mean, I would think that you could allow time for the applicant to provide the answers to the questions that are outstanding and take another vote on the matter at the next meeting.
And that's
So
your concern.
Would you have to rescind this one? Or-
I would say probably right.
well, from what I heard was, the concern was how conservation is going to vote on this.
Their comments, we don't have their comments. Not how they're gonna vote, we don't have their comments.
We vote on, see, it all depends on certain projects. A subdivision, for instance, gets approved by this body. The next step could be, depending on the applicant's process, could be to go to conservation next. Conservation says, no, you can't put the stormwater management detention ponds, or you've got to move them. They won't work here, based on their expertise, their purview. So then they have to come back and not start the whole process over again, but they have to come back and say, look, conservation said we can't do this. So we've come up with a new design to place it here. Then we go back and review it with our peer review, and then the board makes a decision on that. You can't, it's got to start, the process has to start somewhere, and it's the applicant's decision on where they want to go first.
Could I make one comment
That's up to the chair.
influence that? If this board is going to issue a denial, it has to be based on the bylaw and the sections of the bylaw that apply to this application. It can't be based on separate jurisdiction and what another jurisdiction might do. The legal basis has to be, it has to reference specific sections of your bylaws that apply to this application.
Right? And part of it, one of our bylaws, is to get a response from conservation.
There's separate jurisdictions. I'm sorry, there are separate jurisdictions. And I would assume that in the standard conditions, that there's a condition that we must obtain permits from all other local, state, and federal agencies. It's a normal condition of approval. We know that we have to go to the EPA prior to construction. We know that we have to go to the building department. For separate jurisdictions, we know that there are other jurisdictions that rule on specific portions of this project.
What are our options right now? Can we rescind the vote until that information is provided that she's looking for? Is that an option for us
I think
now?
so, yes, I think so.
Okay. Because that would, if someone want to make a motion, I'd be glad to make a motion at this point.
You could make it, but I would seek town council, an attorney's opinion. No offense.
No, it's fine,
But
sure,
there's been too many towns locally that have gotten themselves in this predicament for the exact reason what just happened here tonight.
Well, that's why I'm asking at this point, before this board adjourns, should we look at rescinding it at that time?
I don't know if it, again, I don't know if it is.
Don't think you can. I kind of agree with Jim. If we're gonna do something, we're gonna need town council advice.
Okay.
If we rescind the vote,
I mean, I
then
think,
all of a sudden we've got an issue that's hanging in limbo.
I mean, the alternative is you probably get an appeal of the decision. And I think it'd be wise to try to resolve the discrepancies before you incur that expense and the applicant has his delays.
You can do it if you want. Whether it has any legal teeth, I don't know.
You mean rescind?
I mean, I guess the only other option would be the applicant could reapply forthwith, you know, and take a new application based on this plan, and pending the outcome of whatever new information you get, you could then take another vote.
Well, if you vote to rescind the vote, that required in this particular case 4 yeas or 4 nays, is that how the rescission would work as well?
I don't know.
That's what I said when you contacted.
Yeah. Because Lil may say, I'm not going to vote to rescind the vote.
I think, yeah, if a special permit requires 4 votes, probably the rescission would also require 4 votes.
I would think.
So I guess, if this board meets again, and after we, when we meet again, when we meet again, if we get direction from town council how we can do this, or there's a way that we can do it, or there's not a way we can do it, or the decision that's made is final,
I mean,
then we can call another meeting and discuss at that point, if we wish to do so, because I agree, I think we need to consider what legal counsel
If the denial
will say.
stands, then you could allow the applicant to reapply, and you could waive the peer review fees and the other, things that would normally be required, and then just act on the revised plan that comes forward. I think you still need to have the public hearing process.
Right.
So you still need advertising, but at least it's a way out.
So why don't we, at this point, reach out to legal counsel and ask what our options are, as far as that, if we're gonna move forward and look for another vote or not. But from not hearing from the board, correct me if I'm wrong, there's concerns that we don't have.
Again, we have to have a legal reason to deny it.
That's what I'm asking.
Because it's allowed, number one. And number two, going forward, as for professional courtesy to the rest of the board, when it comes up for discussion before a vote is taken, concerns should be brought up then, prior to the vote. There's a motion, there's a second, there's discussion, and then there's a vote. So if you have an issue with something, it should be brought up at that point. That's all I got to say about this.
So I guess that's, we'll follow up with town council. I'll ask, and I'll reach out to town council, find out what our options are at this point.
In the meantime, I can work on the denial decision then. We don't have to,
Right.
act on it if.
But this
if
time
you
it's been
rescind.
denied, so the
Right.
decision has been denied, so that's what
Right.
we need to act on. But like I said, I'll get
Okay.
input and guidance from legal counsel just in regards to, as you spoke to Jim too, we need to actually have a reason why we denied it based on our bylaws. And if it's not there, then there are concerns.
Well, I'm sure we can find something in the bylaw to base the denial on.
No, not something to base it
Well,
on. Base it on one person's decision, not ours or anybody else's. It's one person's decision, not
Right.
mine, not any of the 2 other planning board members.
Right.
So we're not gonna go digging looking for an excuse. She based it on wanting, denied it based on wanting
More
approval from conservation.
More information.
Right, the lack of information, I think, would be
Yeah.
justification.
All right, so that being said, I'll make a motion, we reconvene to our regular meeting.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anything else on our agenda?
Jim's got a sign, and we were gonna go back
Oh,
over
yeah, we're
something.
going over the letters.
Did you second that one, or did you?
I second the Jim's motion to reconvene.
Jim, can you finish up the meeting? I have a meeting I have to go to.
Oh, we gotta do some minutes too.
Yeah, we gotta do minutes. Jim, this is the decision of Dickinson's you need to sign.
This is done.
Oh,
do need to-
and the
I do need to
letters,
leave.
the two
Right,
letters.
the two letters.
So is there anything I need to be here for?
No, we're waiting on Jim to go over these others, in case he has any questions.
You okay with taking over?
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, we're gonna wait on the letters, right? Because we're gonna get Glenn's name on them, or not?
Well, yeah, I have to edit the letters to get,
Yeah, it's gotta change the
to
letter.
add
Yeah.
Glenn's name, but also we wanted to make, to see if Jim had any changes to the letter. So,
Could I possibly ask the board a question? It's
So you wanna
not
add
directly
what?
related to your decision,
Yes.
but a moratorium was mentioned. Is there public information about what's being proposed and when it's going to be proposed?
We just started. We actually just, like,
We just
as
set
a
up a
board, we
hearing
started looking into it.
April
So it's-
21st.
There's time to reapply
No.
and get through this process?
No.
So you basically will be subject to the moratorium?
Correct.
If a moratorium goes
The
through.
legal notice would appear on April 5th. So you would be able to reapply with sufficient time with a public hearing, et cetera, to get special permit.
Okay. So, and just so that I understand, if this decision, the denial stands, we have to appeal to the circuit court? Is that-
Superior Court.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dean.
Okay, letter, code enforcement, Town of Granby,
which one are you doing?
in regards to Lamoureux.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
And the
You
only
okay
thing,
with
and the only thing we're adding on that is for Glenn to sign.
Yeah, because this, this was what we.
We don't need all our signatures, just Glenn's.
Well, no,
I have to put a
adding,
signature block for him.
there's not one for Glenn right now.
So I'll leave them with Kathy, and then people can stop by and see Kathy, you can sign the letter.
Or we just sign them at the next meeting, can't we?
Or,
It's been going on
well,
for
it's
that
dated the
long.
11th, I'll just change it to the next meeting if you want.
Sure.
You want to do that?
It's fine.
25th,
I believe it is, yes.
not the 28th.
Yes, it all depends how you look at it.
And the, oh, you got the other one there, Jim?
Yeah, I read that. Did everybody read this letter from the building inspector?
The email.
Yeah, the
You
letter.
sent it, Kathy sent it this afternoon. Rob read it.
You read it?
Are we keeping you?
Yes.
This has nothing to do with us.
That's exactly what Bill said.
So, no letter for,
No, it's not part of a site, we're only responsible for site plan approvals. And this doesn't qualify under a site, they can put up
Well,
a
I think
gate.
that's just a courtesy. notation to us.
So we approved the barn, but then he changed the barn. We didn't approve any running water, we didn't approve a couple other things.
No, we wouldn't approve that. That would be zoning, under the zoning bylaw for zoning board of appeals. Again, our purview is site, not what goes on inside a building. The zoning board of appeals can make decisions, I guess, based, their biggest concern is making sure they're not using it for apartments, that type of thing, or in-laws. That's where they go after that type of thing.
Zoning board of appeals?
Yeah.
But I thought then it would be, well, ZBA was in on the first meeting we had with them on this, and their
They had a
condition was
condition in
no
there,
business.
which I don't know how they can, but if they had a condition in there stating zoning, or stating no water or something.
His thing was, their condition was no business to be conducted. So
No.
it would go back to them.
It would go back to them, because, first of all, I don't know if there's business being conducted there. Nobody has brought proof to us.
Right. So,
Just stretching.
so the board agrees not to, all the current issues at 59 Ferry Hill
The only reason why,
are not within our purview.
yeah, the only reason why they came before us to begin with, because they wanted to build a structure, a storage facility larger than 1,200 square feet.
Right.
That's it. That's the only thing that would, so we had concerns about water runoff, placement, setbacks.
So we're saying are not within our purview.
So this letter, you're saying we shouldn't even send?
Right.
Which one's that?
For Ferry Hill.
Similar to Lamoureux.
Correct.
See, I think that we asked for something from them.
We did. We asked for detailed plans because they reviewed.
For what purpose?
Because
Did they file an application with us to run a business?
No.
No, it had nothing to do with the business. The fact that the additional structures were added.
He could have added those without the barn that he requested a special permit. That wouldn't have come before us.
It says here in the minutes from February 25, since the meeting of November 27th with the joint one we have with the ZBA, the building inspector sent a letter dated June 15, 2018 and July 9, 2018 to the planning board listing various violations. The planning board reviewed the building inspector's letter at its October 22, 2018 meeting and indicated the need for a new site plan following section 6.3 of the bylaws for items that need to be included in the plan. That's what we're waiting for.
For what purpose, though? That's, I don't know.
Change your mind?
Sorry, continue.
Until someone says they're running a business out of there, or until they apply for a special permit to run a business out of there.
They did.
They did.
That's what Kathy Kelly Regan said you can't, and bounced it back to them.
Okay, so is there an application that's been before us to run a business?
No.
Then we can't act on anything until we have an application.
Until we have evidence that they are running a business.
Or until someone,
But we had said back in October last year that they needed a new site plan. We needed a new site plan because they changed what they had there. There was a building they were gonna take down, it's still, they decided not to take it down.
that wasn't part of,
I know.
that's what we heard, but that wasn't part of the conditions.
We were just, I'm just,
I know, but
what we said at the meeting.
They put up a corral, they put up a viewing station. Now I guess they put up a gate.
An electronic gate, yeah.
And none of that falls under our purview. unless they were requesting to do this prior to constructing it to run a business.
Or could it be looked at that the site plan has changed?
I think that's the way it was.
But not in reference to anything the only thing that we viewed was the building.
The size of the building,
the size
because
of
it
the
was
building.
over 1,200.
That's the only thing that triggered it. He could have
So
put...
maybe what you're saying is we were overstepping our bounds in this request that Lil just read from the previous minutes.
Well, I don't know what sparked that, if they had an application or you know, what triggered that.
We were responding
They,
to the building inspector's letter.
correct.
That's all.
Without the barn, without the request for the barn, they could have put up a fence or their corral. They could have put up a viewing station, building, whatever. They could put up a gate. The only thing that they'd probably be subject to are building permits.
What about lighting?
There's nothing in our bylaws that addresses lighting for someone, for a business,
Yeah,
but not
it's
for someone that's putting up
residential.
for a private
Use.
use.
This is, considered an agricultural use, is it not?
Yes.
Horses
Are
are
considered
a form of
agricultural.
So if they're just using it for their own, family-type purposes, then
That's what we're
they
saying.
would be exempt from...
And until we get evidence that it's not.
Right.
And there's nothing for us to look at.
So we would need, in order for us to look at it, we would need something from the building inspector say that, in writing, that the business is being conducted there, and give us examples. And
Well, then he'd have to cite them.
Right.
Yeah.
Cite
If it's
them.
a business, you have other concerns, traffic, parking, noise, things of that sort. Yeah.
But I haven't seen anything before us showing us a site plan of parking, requesting information or a hearing to have a business run out of there.
So we're saying the board agrees all current issues at 59 Ferry Hill are not within our purview, as no business is being conducted.
Correct.
Okay. And
Minutes.
yes. Jim was okay with the Lamoureux letter, but I have to,
Put my name on it.
yeah. So I'll bring it back to the next meeting. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the February 25th, 2019 minutes as written.
Is there a second?
I'm going to abstain. I don't believe I was here for that February. Was I here for the February?
Yes,
You were there, Rob,
Rob
Oh,
was
that was the one you were out.
well, let's see, okay, because you want me to
Yeah.
second it again? That way I don't have to edit it?
Sure.
I second.
There you go.
So, you're okay? Oh, sorry.
All
Give
in
your
favor?
spiel.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Now,
Abstain? One abstain.
February 19th minutes.
That was with the selectmen.
Yeah, well, Jim wasn't here when we did that one.
Right. We had,
But Glenn and I are abstaining.
Yes.
Because I wasn't there and Glenn was a select board.
The joint, you're talking about the joint...
Joint meeting.
The joint
Yes.
meeting, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the February 19th, 2019 minutes as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain?
Me and me and you.
Then you. Or you and I.
You and I, if we want to be correct. Then we have March 4th.
You
I
want to
thought
go
you
down?
guys already did.
Oh, we did that, yes, because Jim, you weren't
Yes.
at
Jim
the
was
meeting,
there.
so we
I
could do that
wasn't
one.
here either.
Yeah, the two of you abstained, little did you know.
Right.
Okay. I think we went over all the bylaw things. So I'm gonna add the solar moratorium, the way it is written now, to the public hearing, or you want that a whole separate public hearing?
It's a separate public hearing.
Maybe from that section there.
If you have the solar public hearing, I don't know you'd be able to contain it in this room.
It's only a hearing.
I understand that. Remember when we had
Well, we
the-
can have it elsewhere if you want.
Yeah,
It's,
remember when we had the public hearing for the,
So you wanted the public hearing on April 22nd, which is the same time as we have the others.
Correct.
We can have it, see if it's.
See where Kathy can find, what Kathy can find available that'll,
If the council on aging building's available, how's that there? That holds plenty of people.
you know,
Yeah.
if we end up with a crowd anywhere near or about the same size as we did for the Veterans Memorial Project,
We won't have
I know that acting, you don't think we'll have it, Mike?
We won't have enough, no, I think we will.
Oh,
But
okay.
we wouldn't have
No, I
room
think
here,
it's-
definitely.
I think it's a good suggestion.
I know the acting fire chief at that point was counting heads regarding occupancy in the
It was
building.
crowded. And sometimes it's hard to hear people too, because
Yes.
it's such a confined area, people start talking.
that's fine.
Okay, so I'm gonna add the solar moratorium to the list that's going. It's on the same schedule then. As far as the public hearing. No, it's still gotta go to town
The
meeting.
same night, you're saying?
Yeah, so it's still on the same schedule as all the other,
Right. It has to be.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I need to add it in.
right. So
That
you'd
would-
advertise it for the same night, maybe a different time.
Correct. It's a
Okay.
separate hearing, same night, same place, but a separate hearing.
Where will it be then? In the senior
Same
center?
place?
Well, we gotta see if it's available.
Okay.
That's.
Ask
available.
Kathy to schedule it in the largest room she can
Find.
find. That one being ideally, I guess.
So this room could hold how many people? 50?
I forget what he said the occupancy was.
It may, it's just very difficult when you try to hear things. People start talking a little bit and,
The acoustics aren't great.
yeah. So,
Yeah, the acoustics are.
but I don't think other meetings besides the select board, it's held there.
And what's the date fall on? It's a what?
It's an off day.
Off day from our meetings or the select board?
The select board meets the first and third, which is, because that's actually the third.
Third is
It's the
next Monday.
holiday. No,
So
in
you're meeting the
April.
19th, right?
But in April, it's the first and third of the month, but in April, that's the holiday, the 15th, that's Patriots' Day. So we would probably meet that Tuesday if the rest of the board members are available, so, but that's for a different discussion.
The rest of which board?
The select
Oh,
board,
select board.
because it would meet on the 15th, the 15th is a state holiday, so.
Okay. Okay.
15th of April is a state holiday?
Patriots' Day.
Only in Massachusetts.
No, tax day.
Yes, tax day, that's even more.
Well, you get one extra day because of Patriots' Day.
So the hearing is scheduled for the 22nd of April?
Yes,
But remember, I will not be here.
right. But Jim will, to
Jim
lead
will
the charge.
It's fine.
Thank you. It's my turn to go away.
So we have the other one set for 5:30, right? On the 22nd?
What, the public hearing you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
We have,
Yes, we set it at 5:30.
Monday, March, what is it, the Monday, March 11th, who is this one?
The zoning amendments you asked about?
March 11th, today.
When we set
Right.
this one for you?
Yes, I had 5:30.
Well, then it
so-
would be kind of hard to extend that.
I thought our next meeting was set for.
March 25 at 5:30 is the,
That's our
March
next
20.
meeting.
huh?
Our next meeting, yes.
March
Yes.
25th.
Right,
For the opening of the public hearing on the
For
zoning
for
amendments?
Red Rock
the Red
Solar,
Rock Solar.
but also
5:30.
Dollar General, 6:15 that night. Two. And also-
What time did we say for Red Rock?
5:30.
5:30.
45 minutes.
Those are, I have to put those with our records in the drawer, the two that you have.
I still have 5:30 down to the 22nd.
Right, I think that's right.
Supposed to get copies of,
And solar, too.
the fire department.
Is that your pen?
That's my pen.
So nice pen you got there.
It's broken. Broke the tip.
Yeah, these have to go in the,
Yeah, but this has to go to, Tom Bond.
yeah, I have it scanned in,
Okay.
Those are the other ones.
in the Board of Health. So they just need this one, they don't need anything else. So on the 22nd, we're going to have two separate public hearings. One for the solar moratorium and one for all the rest of the
Correct.
stuff. I should probably make up paperwork for if they, people, that's your public hearing. So I need to set up paperwork for the special town meeting.
What do you mean?
For the solar moratorium. I've already got the paperwork done from all the other bylaws, so I need,
Right,
you
yes.
know, all the fancy descriptions and whatnot.
Right,
for
well,
the
recommendation.
solar. So-
We won't put that together until after the hearing, till we get some feedback.
Okay. Yeah, in case there's any changes. But I'll get it started anyway, that way I don't have to do it at the last minute. Okay,
That's fine.
I think I got it.
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Everybody opposed?